Good evening. What is it? Well, you know why we're here? I suppose he's got this old boy thing. I mean, I'm not an old boy. I'm a bit riper. I'm not an old boy. But they asked me to come on here and tell us parts of my life. You know that? Well, there were some parts we left out, just as well. But here I am to tell you my life story. It's a rather nice set they've given, isn't it? Don't you think so? Rather jolly. They've new innovation. They put on the phones from the outside. That's for complimentary calls. This is for the, you know, the knockers. Oh, excuse me. I haven't bloody well started yet. That was Trinder, I know. I wouldn't tell a funny story if the BBC gave it another £1 on my fee. I'd like to see it get into double figures, but... So I'm not telling a story. Now, have you heard the one about... This one I don't mind telling. It's quite amusing. This makes me laugh myself, so... A bit dangerous at times when you start to tell a story and you can't go on. It's so funny. But this is about an old man called Charlie Brown. He died and goes up to heaven. I beg your pardon? You Charlie Brown? Yeah. Put Charlie Brown in front, put him out before you go on. Charlie Brown, and he went up to heaven. Excuse me. Well, 2 years later, his wife, Mrs. Charlie Brown, she died, and she went up to heaven. Find a husband, of course. And she gets to the gates. They always get to the gates. And there's St. Peter waiting, you know. He's been up there for years. St. Peter lets everybody in. And with all his background, you think he's got a better job by now. He's letting him in, and I think he looks after the bingo as well. I don't know. Well, anyhow, she gets up there, and he says, "Yes, madam, what is it?" She says, I've come up here to try and find my husband. Oh, yes, madam, yes. What is his name? She says, Charlie Brown. Oh, of course, madam, Charlie Brown. We've got millions of Charlie Browns, trillions, billions. They had so many Charlie Browns one time, we stopped taking them. We transferred them to Bognor. And anyhow, we said, haven't you got anything to go on? I mean, do you have any birthmarks or anything? No. Well, can you by any chance remember his dying words? Oh, she said, his last dying words were, if I ever went with another man, he hoped he'd turn in his grave. Oh, you've been revolving, Charlie Brown. Yes. Better last night when I told it in the pub, I think. Still want to carry on. Now, you don't mind how you get comfortable. Do you have a cigar? You always think of Fred Emney with a cigar and a monocle, I know. The dear old Fred loves his cigar. Now, the monocle, you always say, well, Fred's got his monocle. There's no need for it, really. I mean, it's sheer affectation, really. You see, 2 reasons. Nothing wrong with my sight. And the other is, well, I'll show you, there's no glass in it, so it's really affectation. Well, now, to get back to to my life story. Let me see, now, I was born in Liverpool, 1900. Now, there's a picture of me before I was married. Picture of my father and mother. Isn't that delightful? Lovely picture. My dad was a grand man, a grand comedian and a terrific bloke. That's my mother. She's rather good looking, too. Now, there's my dad, and there's his great pal, George Robey. You see, there's George Robey and my dad. Great pals on the stage, and as you see, great pals off it. Now we come to my home. That's old Dad mowing the lawn, rolling the lawn. He never did, but I mean... The entire brood, this is all the Emneys. That's Baby on the right, with his hand like that, that's Baby. My sister Doris, the eldest. My dad leaning on his hand, you know. Mother also leaning on 2 hands. My sister Coo, who I live with now, who lives with me, I should say. Sister Joan, and my little brother, Dennis. Oh, I went to school, very good school. Public school, you know. My father would have it, sent me there for tone. You know tone? It's to speak well. You notice that, but well, that was Cranley. You know Cranley? That's between Horsham and Guildford. Had a marvellous time there. Nice chaps to talk to, nice, charming masters. The only one thing I didn't like was the work. Well, I left Cranley and I went to London and to get my first job on the stage. I was only 15. And I got the job as a page boy in the show with Doris Keane, famous American actress. A show called Romance. And Owen Nares, he played the lead. I played the part of the page boy. Only a kid, see? You know, on those little button suit buttons down there and the bum tree, see? And it wasn't that good, it was very nice. But the trouble was, I gradually grew out of the suit, as you do, you know, you do grow out of things. And it became very embarrassing because I found things sticking out I'd never seen before, you know. You know what I mean, don't you, man? So there I was, just grown out of this suit. And it was very embarrassing going on. I remember the last time I went on, I got a round of applause. It must have been bad, you know. Well, then I couldn't stand it any longer, so I went to see the manager, Mr. Neversole, Louis Neversole. I said, Mr. Neversole, I said, I can't go on this suit. It is embarrassing. Look at it. Look at it. I cannot go on in this suit. Well, I said, what we'll do, I'll see Doris Keane, and we'll see what we can do. So he came to me the next day. All right, young Emney, your troubles are over. We've solved the whole thing. Oh, I said, good. A new suit? It's no, a new boy. I was fired. That was my first smash hit. Yes. Then I went to Drury Lane, which was a great theatre in those days. And the bloke that ran it was a fellow called Arthur Collins, great man. And there was a show called The Best of Luck. Madge Titheridge was the leading lady. Some of you might remember Madge Titheridge. I don't know. Anyhow, she was in it, and that ran for quite a time. After that, I went to the London Hippodrome, which is now the talk of the town. It used to be the London Hippodrome. And I went to a marvellous show there. George Roby, Shirley, Kellogg, Gaffney, Pollard, George Clark. Oh, big cast. And myself, of course. I sang in that show, the telephone song, do you remember? Hello, my dearie, I'm lonesome for you. Anyhow, I sang it, whether you believe it or not. Lovely number, beautiful. Well, where was I after? Zigzag, yes. Yeah. Then the fatal day came. Fatal day came. Just excuse me, just a moment, please. I'm sorry to do this. Oh, dear. Oh. I cannot stand heights. Well, I say the fatal day came. I had tried to join up. This is the First World War, not the second. I wasn't in the Crimean, but this is the First World War we had. I tried to join up in the lifeguards at Knightsbridge Barracks. Always liked horses. I got there, they said, no, we've done away with the horses, all infantry now, or flying machines. Which I thought, well, I'll take the flying machines, safe walking. And I spent a time in the army. I never did, won no medals, of course. There was no time. I joined in 1918. The damn thing was over in 1918. You couldn't do much of that, could you? Well, I did. It wasn't nothing to do with the war. Now then, the war's over, then the next. Yes. Oh, yes. By that time, wanderlust had set in. I always wanted to go to Hollywood. Marvel, I was fascinated. Doug Fairbanks, Mary Pickford, well, Charlie Chaplin. So I thought, right, how do I get there? I never had any money. So I went to see a bloke, Fred Carno. I used to call him Uncle Fred, Fred Carno. He used to do all the Chaplin shows over here. You must have heard of Fred Carno, grand old bloke. So he said, I'll tell you what I'll do, Fred. I'll give you a letter to Charlie. I'm sure he'll do something for you. He'll give you some work. I said, thank you. So I had this letter full of confidence now. I set off for California. Still no money, but I went over on a cargo boat. Oh, horrible. That was a horrible trip. Landed someplace, Sydney, Cape Breton, nowhere near Los Angeles. Might have even started from London again. Well, now, my mother sent me some money, luckily, and I got over to Los Angeles. And when I arrived in Los Angeles, I had $8. That's not much. So I went to the best hotel. I always like the best for everything. Went to the best hotel, the Alexandria Hotel. Very nice hotel. And I got a room, the bath, did myself very well. And that night I walked into the restaurant to have dinner, supper. And who should be sitting there but Charlie Chaplin, Mr. Friends. So there it is, your boy, Charlie. Lovely man, and what a comic. Well, I went up to him and I said, Mr. Chaplin, my name is, I'm young Fred Emney. Oh, young Fred, I knew your father. Your father was a great comedian. Of course I'll help you. What's your letter? Oh, from Fred Carr. Yes. You come around tomorrow morning to the studios on Vine Street. Excuse me. I'll do something. So I was delighted to hear I didn't care now about the hotel bill. It was away. I got money. So the next morning I went out to Vine Street. Out came a bloke, a great big bloke, Sergeant Major type. I said, good morning. I said, I've come to see Mr. Chaplin. He says, you ain't. I said, I've come to see Mr. Chaplin. I saw him last night. No, he said, Charlie, you've never seen nobody out here. No, not while he's working. No, you can't see Charlie. So I went back to the hotel. I was absolutely broken out. Went into the dining room again that night. There he was, Charlie Chaplin. I said, where were you? I was there. I couldn't get in. That bloody man of yours wouldn't let me in. Oh, he said, he's only doing his duty. Come out again tomorrow. I'll help you. So I went out the next morning. There he was. I said, good morning. I said, I've come to see Mr. Chaplin. He says, you ain't. I said, I have. I've come to see Mr. Chaplin. And he wouldn't let me in. Back I went to the hotel. I never saw Charlie Chaplin. Never saw him. I had no money to pay the hotel bill. I did see him once back in England, till 2 years ago. I was in a restaurant called Caprice, and I was sitting in the foyer waiting for a table. In should walk Charlie Chaplin with his wife, Una. You've heard of Una, that was his wife. So now I've got you. So I went up, he's like, Mr. Chaplin, my name is Fred Emney. I said, I had an appointment with you 60 years ago. Blimey, you're late. Well, from there, I still had no money. I put my hand in my pocket to see what I'd got. I had 30 cents, which is about 3 bob. So I got on a streetcar, or a trolley car, whatever you call them. I went to the end of the line, which is a place called San Fernando. One-way street, just a street, railway line. I thought, this is a jolly place. I thought, I'm here, so I walked around and I saw a little tailor shop. And his name was Billy Jordan. He used to press suits, and every Thursday he'd put on the local fights, boxing, you know. So I managed to walk in there and I told him who I was. I hadn't eaten for 3 days by then, so I was pretty hungry. So I told him who I was, and at that time, that night, a fellow called Bert Kalima, who since became the lightweight champion on the Pacific coast, was going to fight a bloke called Charlie Dalton. Well, Bert Kalima didn't show up, so Mr. Jordan said, yeah, you've been talking a hell of a lot what you did. How'd you go in there and earn $40, $40? Well, I was very hungry last night. I said, it's not a bad idea. Win or lose, I said, I know that. So what about that? So they borrowed some things for me. They borrowed some togs, boxing gloves, and shorts. And my opponent, Charlie Dalton, was about so high, and I'm not being funny, little, oh, what weight he was. Don't give away, he was like. So I was introduced to these funny togs on as battling Emney of the British Flying Corps. It's a bad beginning, you know. So I walked into the ring, started off, you know, this, and all of a sudden, he hit me. He not only hit me, he told the crowd where he was going to hit me and when, and he did. Well, at the end of the fight, I got $40 for it, win or lose. And a couple of $40, in the end I only had $2 for myself. It cost me $38 to get my face fixed in the chemist. Well now, from there I went up to San Francisco, and I went to this hotel, and there I met a young bloke called Ray Johnson, who at this time, Fatty Arbuckle. You all remember Fatty Arbuckle? Must have, yes. Twice my size, if possible. Anyway, Fatty Arbuckle was arrested, I don't know, for doing something to a woman, I don't know what it was. Couldn't have been much, I mean, it was twice my size, and I know what I go through. So yes. Well, I met this young fellow, Ray Johnson, in the Plaza Hotel. He was, what was he? His father sold Johnson sealing wax. Like a millionaire, you know, the Johnson's floor work. Well, I told him I was looking for work, hadn't got a bob, and he said, well, he's looking to look for work. And his father had given him $2,000 to spend it and then go to work. So he said, you want to go to work? I said, you've got no money. He said, well, come on, we'll have a holiday first. He said, I'll pay your way and you can pay me back when we go to work. So we went. I found a place called the Russian River, the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my life, up in Sonoma County. I always remember the place's name. The Russian River. Eagles flying about, if you like eagles. And he said, well, let's have a tent. We come up here for the air, let's have a tent. So we took a tent at night about 12 o'clock. Red sky, place is on fire. Place burns to the ground. Everything. Little post office there was, that burned to the ground too. So the next morning, back we went to San Francisco. Well, I was walking along in San Francisco, and I came out, two enormous men came up, Emney, here, arrested. And I was accused of arson. Well, I didn't know what it meant, really, arson. So I said to the sheriff, well, I better cable my mother. She'll help me in a case like this, I know. So I came to my mother in London. I said, Mother, I'm in terrible trouble. I'm in jail for arson. What shall I do? Cable came back. Time you stopped arson, I went to work. They gave me a lawyer. He said, how are you? He said, I'd plead guilty. You'll get away with about 10 years. He said, don't you get life? You don't like arson around. So I didn't know. I said, I'm not going to plead guilty for something I haven't done, arson. Well, suit yourself. I've done my best for you. So the case came up in court. There was a judge. You know, I felt it all. I thought it was life, you know. I didn't know what it was. And then he got something out of it. He got out. I thought it was the electric chair where he got out. And in the end, the man came rushing in, whispered to the judge. The judge got his gavel, isn't it? Silence in court, case dismissed. Well, it turned out this bloke that ran this hotel we were in, Montesano, the place, right? Done all his own electric wiring, you know, tree to tree. Short circuit, and up went the place, because I got the blame. Well, I had enough of that, so where did I go after that? I went back to Los Angeles very quickly, very quickly. I was walking around there, still no money, not a bob in the world. I saw one of these places you've got a Wurlitzer pipe organ in, you know. Used to sell them, and if there were any jobs, they send people out to play. Well, I walked in, charming lady there, Miss Peggy Kraut, I can remember her name now. Not pretty, but very good. Well, anyhow, forget that. She was very nice, very accommodating, and she asked if I'd like a job playing the organ. I said, yes, I could. So she sent me down to a place called El Centro, which is in the Imperial Valley. 128 in the shade, playing this. When I get down there, it's in a real big organ, it's a small organ, it's a photo player. It's got 3 pedals down here, one was for drums, the other for wind or something. There's another one down here, I didn't know what that was for. I thought, well, I'll try that one. I put my foot on it. Snake. I'm not lying. You know, you should come in for the summer, you know, rest. So I rushed up to the box and saw Mr. Snell. Mr. Snell! I said, there's a snake on the organ. She said, no, it's unusual. Rushed him down. I said, what? I thought it was a rattler. Because I'd killed a rattler up there. Oh, no. I said, what do they call it? What kind of snake is it? He said, well, they call it an effeminate accountant. What a funny name. Is that a snake? Well, no, it's a puff adder, really. I left there, but I had to get some work. I had to get some work. I went down, I got a job in a place called Tijuana, which is in Mexico, just over the border. Oh, horrible place. Horrible. One street, every place a saloon. The last chance, that was the one when you came out, you had to go in there. The Tivoli Bar, the Sonora Bar, that's where I got my job. The Sonora Bar, the woman that ran it was wanted by the police in America. So she'd gone over there, you know, rest. So I got into there and I got a job playing the piano. Very good. $7 a day and all they chucked at me. They chuck it. Have a gramophone one and ponk in them, lucky if they miss you. So I didn't mind that, but one morning I went over a bit early to try a couple of pieces on the piano. And I was playing away. I'd had a couple of tequilas. You know what tequila is? Ooh, horrible. 2 of those, you know, well under the table. Well, I had a couple, and I was playing away quite nicely. And I felt somebody looking at me from the back. Do you ever have that feeling, somebody looking at you? And I was playing away, and I felt him coming up nearer to me. So he looked, you play La Paloma? I said, no, I don't know. No. He said, you play La Paloma? I said, no, I don't. You know like La Paloma? I said, I don't like La Paloma, I don't like your music, I don't like you. I nearly told him what to do, but I just... When I said that, out came a gun. A gun. This is true. Great big one, and he shot boom, 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 right in the piano board. I went la da da dee da da da. I never remembered a thing quicker in my life. Well, from there I couldn't stand it any longer, so I got on a train. I went up to Canada. Oh, then I joined a show, the Dumbbells, Canadian show. Marvelous show, all men. Came over, yes, I came over here during the war, played a month at the Coliseum. I'm talking about the First World War. And I joined the show. In the end, I was getting $125 a week. In the end, I was getting a lot of money. I used to write the show. I always used to write. And went from coast to coast, Halifax, Nova Scotia, to Vancouver, back again. It was marvelous. I was in Winnipeg one day. And a bloke came up to me in the hotel and said, I saw your show last night. I said, yeah. You're a damn good comic, do you know that? I didn't know. I said, no. Oh, yes, I liked it very much. You're wasting your time up here in Canada. You want to go to New York or London. I don't want to interfere, be rude, but He says, my name's Jack Emney. Well, I loved him, I would have adored him. So I took his advice. I went to Coin. Back I came to London, naturally. My mother was there, all the family. And I came back. Well, I never told you the different ways I crossed the Atlantic. I went over it back 8 times. The last time I came back, it was on a cattle boat, 333 bulls. And I was assistant foreman. Bloody thing about a bull, never did, never wanted to. Anyhow, one of the bulls was sick one day, and the captain, who looked like having he saw the foreman, we got a sick bull, what do you should look after? Well, I did the best thing I thought possible. I gave him some hot salt, you know, Epsom. Died in the night. So he said, what did you give that bull for? I said, it's a hot Epsom salt. Ridiculous, the worst thing possible. She said, give him hot brandy. I said, it's not enough to go round the bloody crew, never the bull. So now I arrived back in England, saw my family, couldn't get a job. So, in the end, I met a fellow called, Frank Rubens. He worked in Fellman's, the music people. And he was a great booster of mine. He'd never seen me do anything, but he kept on telling me. And then Paul Robeson came in one day. So I wanted to meet the finest comedian in England, Fred Emney. Never heard of him, nor anybody else. But in the end, he did give me a job. He got me a job at the Central Pier, Blackpool. £8 a week. Had a wife, I had a son. I used to send a bit to my mother now and again. It wasn't bad on £8 a week. Thoroughly enjoyed myself. Left there, did some variety, did Jack Payne, but worked with him, wrote his comedy stuff. And Jack Buchanan's new show. Jack Buchanan was the greatest bloke I ever met in my life. We were pals for 20, I don't know how long. We lived with each other. I had a house in the country. He was never anywhere else. There he is. I don't know what he's doing there. What is he doing? Peculiar position, but that's him. Here's a nice photoclip of Jack dancing with June. Do you remember June? Look at that old, very gay. Lovely. Made it. Not bad, eh? Well, after that, I said once again, I keep on repeating myself, he was my greatest pal. Well, then I went to the Gaiety. Now, let's see the Gaiety. We did 5 shows there. We were a very famous comedy team. Here's a little sketch I did with Henson. I don't know if you remember, something about a waiter.
Quite good, yes. Now, after good. Tell me, is there anything else to do with this one-horse town? I mean, is there any other form of amusement? What is it?
For musics? Oh, there's plenty. Or for musics? There is the theatre.
Theatre, yes.
The theatre. There is a fuss at theatre.
A fuss?
A fuss.
What about?
Nein, a fuss. Very funny fuss.
Oh, fuss! Fuss! Oh, yes.
Fuss. Very funny fuss. Oh, pig sucks eggs. Pig sucks eggs.
Pig sucks eggs?
Oh, pig sucks eggs.
Oh, suck 'em yourself. I got to...
Well, let's see now. We talk about now my films. I made a lot of films, but none of them very good. But now here's the one I enjoyed. This was The Magnificent Man and the Flying Machine. Do you remember that?
What's the idea? Damn silly thing to do. Did he frighten the life out of the Mem Saab?
Well, I'm terribly sorry, sir, but I had no alternative. Fuel pipe blocked. doors, please.
I think I'll get one of those, Muriel.
I shouldn't, Willie. You're near enough to your wings as it is. Come on.
Well, now we get to my television. I had a show called Emney Enterprise that ran for years. I was... Didn't run that long. I don't know what to do it.
A pleasure.
Gone are all my love dreams, my heart sighs. Now I know that it's too late, all your vows were lies. Lies that made me happy, and lies that made me blue. You lied to me the day that you promised that you'd be true. Lies that broke my heart, dear, and I, like a little fool, believed them true.
Oh, goodness. Oh, the next thing was the priestly play I did very well, at the Strand Theatre, When We Are Married.
Your wife doesn't seem to take much interest in you.
How do you know?
Well, I bet your clothes hasn't been brushed for a month. You could almost make a meal off your coat, there's so much egg on it. Why doesn't she tidy up a bit?
Because she's not here to do it, that's the reason.
Doesn't she live with you?
Must you delve into my private affairs?
Go on, you might as well tell me. Where is she?
Mrs. Orwell is helping her sister run a boarding house called Palm View. The only Palm View I see, but she holds out her hand at the end of the week.
Where? Blackpool?
No idea, Blackpool. No. Torquay, really.
Oh, that's right down south, isn't it?
Yes, Torquay is on the south coast of Devonshire, sheltered from the northerly and easterly winds, and open to the warm, fresh breezes from the south, which makes it an all-year-round resort for very fine, delicate couples of genteel society. In other words, it's bloody dull. That one. It was rather pretty one. There's a little number I wrote called when I broke my leg in the circus. I had it all plaster up here. A little number I wrote called Waterfall. I thought it was pretty. The trouble is, when you haven't seen a piano for a long time, you don't know where to find things. All right, let's try it. Waterfall. I see a waterfall. Beautiful. Aglow with rainbows. Down it flows, a joy forever. Never changed by time. Love can be just like a waterfall, beautiful, dearest one, our love is beautiful. And like the waterfall will flow through all of time. I give my thanks to Thee, O Lord, this day. I give my thanks for showing me the way. I need your help in everything I do. So, for your guidance, again, my thanks to you. Good night, folks. I'm sorry I didn't know.